Right. And even on the ATF website, that is the particular characteristic that they focus in on is can the firearm, can the pistol still be fired while it is still contained in the holster?
We're the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about concealable firearms. Specifically, there's a category of guns the ATF kind of doesn't like a lot. We're going to be talking wallet holsters, pin guns, canes, desk gun. We have a video for you, and so much more. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And fun reminder, if you aren't already, join the Armed Attorneys Insider newsletter. That's at armedattorneys.com. To scroll down the page, just put in your email address. We're starting to send out emails more frequently, kind of breaking news stuff. Get it from the horse's mouth. I mean, we could do a video talking about breaking news, but really it's just like, thing happened, boom, roll credits. Usually giving a little bit more legal analysis right to your inbox, so check us out, armedattorneys.com. Now, like we talked about in the intro, this came from a person who watches the show, and it relates to, he was looking at a specific wallet holster, and the question became, hey, is this thing legal? We started going on a deep dive.
Right, because the ATF, in the NFA from 1934, there is a category of weapons. We're all familiar with discussions of suppressors and short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns. But there's a category called AOWs, which pretty much it does stand for any other weapon, and it's a catch-all for all of this stuff that the Congress believed should have been regulated or should be regulated, but yet doesn't fit into any of the previously named categories. And so that's where you find the big one where the ATF has said, oh, nope, that's an NFA weapon, that's an NFA weapon, is if it is concealable as something else. And of course, that's the difference between just simply a pistol being concealable in your pocket versus a pistol or some other type of weapon, firearm weapon, that can be concealable as something else. And so that's what they're concerned with.
Yeah, and so if you want to check out this law, it is 26 U.S. Code 5845. This is in the definitions. This is our internal revenue code. And we're just going to focus on the initial part of this definition because that's what we're really talking about. The term any other weapon means any weapon or device capable of being concealed on the person from which a shot can be discharged through the energy of an explosive. And so there's a lot of different weapons listed there in the AOW statute, but that's what we're talking about. Now, in reading that, we came upon this very funny clip from Pawn Stars with a desk gun.
The desk gun.
Yeah.
Which the Pawn Stars guy, Rick, he wanted to buy this, but I got a friend. Let me call a friend.
He's always got a guy.
Yes, and his guy said, "Hey, Rick, I can't confirm that this is a lawful weapon, so you're taking your chances."
Yeah,
and at that point, they turned him down.
Yeah, let's check out a couple of clips from this.
I was trying to figure out how to open it and had a really good look inside it and said, this isn't a desk, this is a gun.
You press there's the trigger. That falls down, hits the hammer. The bullet flies out this way. You ever seen one?
I've never seen this.
All right, so the very cool little device there. Now, this is that considered on the person, this desk gun? We're looking back at our AOW definition.
When you're sitting at the desk, perhaps.
Yeah. So, but really what brought this up was a specific holster. We'll show what's being marketed. Throw that up on screen just to show. This is the one that we were talking about. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but it looked okay to us. But let me compare it to what the ATF says is a no-no. We'll put those pictures up. And what is the difference you see between, what's out there for sale and what the ATF says is probably no bueno?
Yeah. Now, wallet guns or wallet holsters, the ATF has been examining them for almost 30 years. I believe their first time that they said, hey, this thing is now a thing was way back in 1997. And so they said, look, if something looks like a wallet, then, it's a wallet. But if it shoots a projectile, if you put a gun in it, now it suddenly becomes an AOW. So it is both the holster plus the gun Neither one of those is illegal amongst themselves.
Yeah, but with
But
their powers
once you
combined.
put them, Wonder Twin powers activate, they now constitute an AOW. And so whenever the ATF got later, looked at this, they actually put up some photographic examples of wallet holsters that they have determined are in fact AOWs whenever they're combined with a handgun. And I think we can show those pictures as well for educational purposes.
Yeah, and so what it seems to be what they're focusing on is, hey, this is in this item. So it could be anything. Think pen, think book, think desk, wallet. All right, all those things, not firearms, but the moment that they, you can discharge a firearm. And if you look at those pictures, you see there's a distinct little hole around the trigger area. Now you're saying, hey, this is a wallet that shoots.
Right. And even on the ATF website, that is the particular characteristic that they focus in on is, can the pistol still be fired while it is still contained in the holster? And obviously the the trigger hole is the key element to that. And so that's kind of what they say is, if you can't see the gun, but it has a trigger hole, that is an AOW.
Yeah, compare that to the modern example. We had a person who was asking questions about it. The gun, not so concealed.
No, and obviously that is, and we have no idea if this gun if anybody's ever been arrested with this gun. It's still for sale on the internet, so we are working off the assumption that they've done all their legwork. It is a perfectly legal piece of equipment to have. Fully vetted. And if you look at the two, I believe that really the only difference is that
1/4 inch of leather,
the top of it is not concealed. And so it's not fully concealed within the wallet. It is merely partially concealed in the holster, which of course every single holster in the world partially conceals a pistol.
But another one, think of an example. If we had a wallet holster that didn't have that hole, so you'd have to remove it before it became dischargeable, do you think that would fall under it?
No, I think that the hole is what makes it distinguishable, because obviously if you have, a gun rug or just a gun bag or so, then you can say, look, that's the same thing. My gun is fully concealed. But the difference is that you cannot discharge it while it is simultaneously being concealed in the carrying device. Now, of course, these another thing to point out with regard to these AOWs is, if you are in the market for a vintage weapon, if that vintage weapon was in fact manufactured prior to 1899, then you don't have to worry about it being an NFA item. So if you're out perusing, hopefully if you find a vintage cane or a pin or an umbrella or something of that, that it can be affirmatively dated to being manufactured prior to 1899, then you don't have to worry about NFA regulation.
That's something that needs to get fixed, because it feels like we have this antique line drawn in the sand. I feel like that should be a moving bar, like, past 100 years or whatever.
Correct. It should have been moving. It should say, the way the law should have been written is, instead of having an affirmative date made prior to 1899, they should have said made, since the law came out in 1834, if it was made at least 50 years ago, then it is exempt from firearms regulation.
Yeah, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, and it would solve the problem that we have seen kind of started maybe 25 years ago or so, where children and grandchildren of World War I, World War II veterans were finding war relics.
I hate it when that happens, when they're cleaning out a barn and they find something and it's like, oh, how do I make this thing legal? And it's like, I got bad news, buddy.
Yes, unfortunately. And so they'll have a beautiful historic piece of weaponry.
It belongs in a museum.
It does belong in a museum, but the ATF would rather see it destroyed. And that's just one of the many terrible, terrible things that our government does.
Yeah, but we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video. And don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section down below. And until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.